licensed as a psychologist in Minnesota since 1999, and my practice is primarily forensic assessments. Most of those are for either family court or criminal court cases, and I also have a small therapy practice, maybe about 5 clients a week. Before I was licensed and I was working in another state, I worked for a psychologist who was unethical, got in a lot of trouble with the board, and I really was victimized by that, came out on the losing end of that. And at that time, I really didn't feel like there were a lot of resources to help me to figure it out. And I was sensitized really early in my career to the importance of regulation. And that, I think, planted the seed. And then as I worked more, as I learned more, as I worked in the forensic arena, I got involved in a lot of thorny ethical problems and interesting legal situations, and that really added more fuel to my interest. And then when the opportunity came to serve on the board, I was very happy to do that. The thing that surprised me most was the tone of the board staff and board members. I think when you don't know the people, you think of them as regulators, you think of them almost as the bad guys. And I have not found any bad guys on the board yet. The board is following a relatively new strategic plan and trying to take a more active role in education and a more active role in areas other than strict regulation. That's been a major accomplishment. The other big accomplishment since I joined was changing the Practice Act, changing the rules, which was something that was a long time in the making and finally got accomplished. It's important because it helps support the regulation function. If we're out there educating people, teaching people about the rules, teaching people about legal and ethical practice, then we have fewer complaints to worry about. We have better educated licensees, and our job as regulators is easier. Public protection is our responsibility to the public to make sure that to the best of our ability they're getting services from psychologists that are helpful and they're not being harmed by unethical or problematic practice. There are some difficult things to think about on kind of an intellectual left brain level. There's a lot of stuff to learn. That's the second hardest part. I think the hardest part is being on the CRC, the Complaint Resolution Committee, and being face to face with a psychologist who's had some real problems in their practice. And we're required to take some action for community protection, but also have some sympathy for the licensee. And trying to balance out treating the licensee with respect and protecting the public in the way that we need to is hard at a very gut emotional level, and that has been the hardest thing. That we're doing a job and that we are promoting public protection, and we're going to do that very vigorously, but we're also going to do that with great respect for them no matter what they may have done. And so we will not let them off easily in terms of holding them accountable, but we'll do that with in a way that allows them to keep some dignity and demonstrates respect for them and for the process. as a practicing psychologist, I am used to making decisions that impact individual people or perhaps families. And on the board, you have an opportunity to make a broader impact on the whole practice of psychology and as far as public protection, an even broader impact on the public. I only get one. The first thing that comes to mind is to keep up the good work. And I would expand on that by saying that what you are doing is service. You're being paid very little for it. You are not taken for granted. And you're very much appreciated. It's easier, it's more convenient, and every year it gets more natural for more people. I think younger people in particular use online access very automatically. That's the first thing that they think of. And every year that goes by, more and more people are in that category, that's the first thing that they think of. Innovative means to be able to think creatively about the use of technology, and not to use technology just to use it, but to really keep our eye on the ball. What are the things that are most important to us? And then think about how technology can serve those functions. Again, it's hard to pick one. I can remember one complaint resolution committee meeting that we had that took all day and then some. And those meetings can be over in 3 or 4 hours, or they can take 7 or 8. My memory is that this one took 11, but I think it was probably more like 9 or 10. But what I remember is that we had a number of really difficult cases, that the committee was working very well together, and that the staff was contributing. And I remember one staff member who was relatively new at the time, and we were in overtime. He was supposed to go home, and the executive director said, you can go if you want, and he said, no, I'm staying, and it was in a tone of voice like I wouldn't even think of going home. We had important work to do, everybody chipped in, and I was very drained at the end, but it felt like we had really done a great job that day. I can talk about that on a couple levels. The first is really to keep doing a lot of the things that we have been doing, but get more efficient at them. And by that I mean to continue the public outreach that we're doing, to continue the use of technology to make the board more user-friendly, to continue to build bridges with licensees. Those are all things that we've been doing since I came on. We've done well, but there's still work to do. When I was elected, I was elected in part on an initiative to promote ethical practice of psychology in the legal arena. And so I want to put some work and some time and some thought into that, and to ask the same of other board members. I don't know that I can be very specific, but I think that it will have to do with advances in technology and the associated problems with maintaining privacy. So that takes a lot of forms. It could be telepsychology and how people can practice across jurisdictional lines. It could be our storage of our records, electronic health records, and how to do that in a way that preserves privacy. I think that there are a lot of branches of that, but what I'm fairly sure is that it will involve technology and some of the complications of practice. Well, there are a couple. One is that Minnesota has a number of professional licensing boards whose licensees are doing overlapping work. So you could be a therapist and be licensed by the Board of Social Work, the Board of Marriage and Family Therapy, the Board of Psychology, possibly the Board of Medicine. And so there are issues that cut across all of those disciplines, and trying to work with the other boards and with the other professions will be important. The other thing about Minnesota that is somewhat unique is we have one big population center and a lot of outlying areas that are geographically pretty far away. And so trying to promote practice in the areas that aren't the Twin Cities and to have psychologists who are licensed in those areas feel like they're part of the bigger picture in the state will be important.